insightful episode around the show What Child Is This? We've got multiple perspectives on it from the author, an actor / sand animator, projection mapper, and I think we've got some interesting thoughts.
Yeah. What child is this? That's that. That's iconic.
Yep, he's really good. So this is a letter that Grieg wrote to his relative or something?
Yeah,
like that?
to I think 80's grandfather.
Yeah, isn't that something?
So the
Did
band
we get it?
the band is going to perform a Grieg piece,
Okay.
and we'll have the letter on view.
Somebody read that
Why does
letter.
that guy have it?
Isn't he the...
That's the way letters work.
Well, where'd he get it from?
His grandfather.
Grieg wrote to his grandfather.
You're
Oh,
not-
to that guy's
Yeah,
grandfather.
you're not paying attention.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I was paying attention. I
same
just
Grieg
needed
that
clarification.
The same Greek that did Hall of the Mountain King?
Yep. Wait, is that Grieg? Yeah.
That's Greek.
That's crazy. Every
Yeah,
beginner piano student has destroyed that.
Edvard.
That's pretty crazy.
Edvardian.
Have you seen the Saturday Night Live parody of the two girls who have the NPR, they're NPR hosts, and they're right on the mic like this.
Yeah.
And then they tell jokes, but they can't laugh because they're so close to the mic, so they go, that's really funny.
Is it the Splendid Table?
It's like that. It's totally like that. Oh, yeah, that's really funny.
That's what we are. We are the Splendid Table.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone can hear me.
No.
Uh-oh.
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 Who are you going to call?
It's a good thing we got Elias here. He'll figure it out.
Yeah, if anybody's going to have a mic problem, I vote
Elias.
Elias.
So I hope you guys can hear me.
Well, we've already begun introductions. That's Elias, who you can't quite hear in the room.
Are we recording now?
I'm Jason
just start
Jaspersen,
right
and
away.
this is Norah Kratz on Whistle the Feast, and we've got Peter Bloedel across the table. Elias will continue f***ing, and we have a lot of...
Yeah, it does sound bad. Yeah, testing. Check.
Okay.
You'll be added to the list of the
Yeah,
one
it
other
does
person
sound
who's been
bad.
bleeped out in this
Yeah, it
podcast.
Yeah, right.
Alyssa Integer.
And it was right. Alyssa Hennig was bleeped out because
Excuse me, Integer.
what did she say?
Something goofy like that. What was it? I can't
Schlock.
remember. Yeah, she said schlock, and I
And
said,
and then she made a joke. Jaksyn bleeped that out, and he did.
and he did, which is so funny.
So, but nobody knows that now. I mean, now people will know if you listen to that episode and you hear
So
her.
if they bleep it out, did they
Yeah.
think she said? Now
Yes.
everybody thinks she did say
Yes,
I was gonna say, so go re-listen to that episode
she's a cusser.
and know that she did not cuss. She said schlock,
Schlock. She's a schlock sayer. I like that.
which is worse.
Schlock sayers.
Yeah.
Guys, this isn't looking good.
Well, what?
Can
Well,
you guys not hear Elias in your headphones?
I can't hear him.
Hello.
There you go. Okay. I feel great.
There's Elias.
why don't
and number 4 is off.
Well, this isn't plugged into anything. This is plugged into what was number 4.
Got it. Okay.
I think it's just shaking the other ones.
It's always crazy to me that that I'm the one bringing order to the room. That
It's a
just
beautiful
it
thing,
just
I
baffles me that I'm the grown up. Yeah, go ahead. Because that's not my expectation. Okay, I want to talk about Whistle the Feast.
Okay.
And this group is selected for that. This is a group that kind of gets at Whistle the Feast from multiple angles. All of us were involved in the production.
And by whistle the feast, you mean what child is this?
The one, yeah, the multi-word title that starts with W.
I wonder if he's actually meaning to talk about
I was wondering that.
the hit Bethany production. What child is
They both start with wha.
Okay, so welcome to the podcast, Whistle the Feast. Today we're going to be talking about what child is this?
Nora, you're doing great.
You're doing great.
Thank you so much. That's what I'm here for.
Okay, here's what I thought we would do. I thought maybe it would be interesting to get first-person points of view during a production from the people around the room, during production or rehearsal. Like, where are you? What are you seeing? And I'll do a brief intro of the show, I think, just to kind of catch people up if they're not familiar. And then I want to talk about origin story a little bit. Want to get at how did this come to be, and time permitting, I would like us to talk about why. why What Child Is This exists. Okay.
Lovely.
All right, so overview. What Child Is This? I'm saying it right. What Child Is This? Is a stage production that was written by Peter Bloedel, directed by Peter Bloedel, and performed on the stage in the Sigurd Lee Theater at the Ylva Fine Arts Center at Bethany Lutheran College in Mankato, Minnesota. That's in the United States of America.
In the fall.
Do another one.
It was in the fall.
Yeah.
The show, I think, on its surface claims to be about the nativity story. It's about the events surrounding the birth of Jesus, but does some admirable time travel and jumps backwards in time in examining prophecies. And it jumps forward in time towards later events in Jesus' life. All of the juxtaposition of the time travel helps us understand the significance of the events and sort of echoes throughout time that come out in the birth of Jesus. It was an ensemble cast, 25 members, I believe, of the cast, playing over 80 roles. So a lot of hat switching, costume switching, very costume-heavy show. The production was viewed from two sides. The stage was rearranged, so audience members were on either side of the performance space. And then, significantly, sand animation was produced to be projected on multiple surfaces around the interior of the theater to also contribute to the storytelling and sometimes be a setting for actors to react to. Okay, I think that might do it as an overview.
Yep.
Let's try the first person point of view. I think I want to start with Norah.
No.
In rehearsal or in performance, where are you? Answers vary.
Yeah. Like, what do you mean?
Where are you standing? What do you see where you are during a performance?
During a performance, for most of it, we're in the black box, so really far back behind stage. And we were watching it on the screen to see, like, when our entrances are. Except this one was... Most plays, you'll have, like, at least a couple of periods where you're in the black box for a long time, just waiting for your cues and stuff. This one, we were all doing so many things for so much of the play. There was not a period like that. Probably the longest period of rest that we got was intermission, of just, like, you actually just sit still for a while. Because, you know, for this one, it's like you were on the stage as one character, you come off. For a lot of the women, you take off whatever headscarf you're wearing and let your hair down, and you go do a different, we call it the voice of the prophets, which means that you're reading, like, a portion of scripture. And you're not supposed to wear any, like, that was, like, that character is you were supposed to wear purple stole and not anything on your head. And then you would come off and redo your scarf and redo your hair and go on as a different character. And so there wasn't a lot of time sitting. And I think one of my favorite parts about, like, the atmosphere of doing any show, but I think it was maybe amplified during this show, is I like the focus that you get, the focused atmosphere of the backstage of a play during a performance. And especially this one, everyone's wearing sandals, and you don't want it to sound like click, 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 click all around stage, so everyone's on their tiptoes, like tiptoeing around behind stage. Like, it seems so calm from the audience perspective, and I like thinking of putting myself into the perspective of an audience member sitting and watching and not knowing that going on literally in behind every curtain around me are cast members just, like, scurrying around so quietly, getting props ready, redoing their hair, you know, like, getting on different costumes, whispering to each other, and just this, like, I don't know, it's so cool. And for this one in particular, it was even quieter than usual, I think, because there was a center stage, and so the audience was literally backstage with us, and so we had to be really, really quiet. Also, everything behind stage was candle lit, kind of, because we have some green lights for some parts of it, but a lot of it, to see where we were going, we would just put candles down on the ground to like kind of lead the way. And so even backstage, it felt like you were still very much in the atmosphere.
Like in world.
Yeah, exactly.
The candles weren't real candles.
No, they were no fire. Yeah, they were little battery candles.
That's the disclaimer for insurance purposes.
Yep.
Yeah. Which
so
was a design piece, right? I mean, there was
Big
maybe
old
what the
design piece.
people listening don't know is that the stage had hundreds of candles, and they were just sort of filling the house. So that was a big part of the design, that there were just candles all over the theater, the stage. And
candles and sandals.
candles and sandals.
That's the design thesis.
Yep, that's right. And they were all battery operated candles, so that
Yes,
we
they
could actually
were.
turn them on with little remotes.
Sandals were not battery operated.
Yes, no. They were-
Sandals were analog.
Right.
Right. Everyone in the cast.
Nora, you spent a lot of time talking about backstage.
I did.
What about well, how many parts did you play? Do you know?
I think 5 or 6. I was voice of the prophet. Obviously, I was a Peter accuser. I was a person in the temple. I was Mary's mother. I was one of the women that gets her baby killed.
Oh,
I was one of the women at the tomb. But those are kind of the same part. I don't know. So.
And then sometimes you're singing.
You were right. Everyone in the cast, there were some portions where it's just you're out there singing, which was fun too.
Yeah. So I have a first-hand account of watching the show that I think will stick with me my whole life, and it has to do with you, Nora. I saw the show 3 times. I was in rehearsals many, many, many times. But sitting in the seats with the audience, and everybody is on their game, the lights are going, and it's different than rehearsal. As much as dress rehearsal tries, it feels different. And at one of the last performances, I was sitting in the seats on the stage, the sort of bleacher seating, and the way it turned out, it was the end of the show, and everybody's looking at this tableau in the center where we have Mary and Joseph and a shepherd, Ingrid, holding what we are to believe is the newborn baby Jesus. And then in the aisles, the rest of the cast is looking towards this tableau and singing, "What child is this?" Well, that baby, air quotes baby, is a piece of cloth, right? And I had a cascade of realizations at that moment. I realized that it's make-believe, right? But I saw you, the look on your face convinced me this is not make-believe. You totally believed in the baby, in the truth of what was happening, even though everybody knows that this is just a bundle of red cloth. And people are singing along. And I realized, the field of theater, Pete taught me a long time ago that what we do in theater is suspend disbelief. For a little while, we forget that we're sitting in a building in Mankato, and we forget that we know these people who are dressed up, and we forget that it's a pretend story. So suspending disbelief was happening, but then there was another layer where there's like belief happening. It was belief, not make-believe. Because, nobody thought that piece of cloth was actually baby Jesus, right? But what we were experiencing was something between performance and worship. It occupied some other space that I thought was really powerful. And that cascade of realizations came from seeing the look on your face, because you were so into that little red cloth. you were just like, you were beaming about it.
Yeah.
right? And I think everybody in the room was having some kind of experience, some kind of moment. So there's my first-hand account of seeing a show. Elias, what's it like in performance? Where are you? What's your point of view?
My point of view is upstairs in what would normally be the balcony. Obviously, the seats had been taken out to allow for the lighting instruments to go up there. Behind a black cloth, through which I could only see candlelight, couldn't see any actors. So in front of me, I had these two, 6-inch monitors, black and white. Couldn't see faces, just little blobs running around with a headset on, listening to my stage manager, Renee, giving me cues as to when I should go to the next projection cue.
How many performances were there?
There were
nine.
Nine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had all these dress rehearsals or leading up rehearsals where you and I were really grinding on making the projections work, kind of down to the wire.
Yeah.
Last minute, very complex, for my mind, very complex systems of like checklists. But then 9 times it's like sit and wait, push the button, don't mess up.
Yep.
Okay. Kind of hiding, just out of view.
Yeah. It's the way I like it.
Yeah. I have a feeling you're gonna hide in an audio format too.
I am. I don't talk much.
Yeah.
I absorb.
Well, we really like Elias. Pete, what's it like for you watching, let's say, this show in particular or in general? You can take that from any angle you want.
Before I get into that, let me just say that I believe that God provides, and this show was ambitious. And I remember meeting with Jason years ago. It was at a Christmas party, and I was telling Jason about these ideas that I had for this Christmas nativity kind of play that I wanted to do, and that I've never seen a Christmas show that wasn't just kind of dopey, Jesus doing the box step, kind of a musical or something like that. I wanted to do something that was reverent, and I thought, it'd be really cool if there were ways to see Mary and Joseph traveling, or to have, how can we have people on stage like, the wise men? Can there be camels on stage? And I remember talking to Jason and saying, do we need to build puppets for this? And then Jason goes, I believe I can help you there. So Jason's saying, I believe I can help you there with sand animations. And we went through a bunch of sand animations that he had done in the past and things that were on YouTube and stuff. And so fast forward a few years now. By the way, this had been like a 7-year project. And we fast forward to now. And it's kind of like Brian Klebig was a big player in this. And Brian was kind of introducing what projection mapping was for us and all these other things. But who knew that, and in the studio right now, there are whiz kids. There are people who are kind of genius level students who are able to jump to the fore. And so Elias, this freshman, kind of comes in and is able to, oh yeah, I've done play mapping before, or I've done projection mapping before. And we thought, oh, okay, well, there's a freshman who's familiar. Not only was he familiar, how many projectors were there? 6?
6, yeah.
And just hundreds of images that you were mapping all over the theater, on the ceiling, we had sheets that we were projecting to in the back, under the balcony, in every nook and cranny. And it was this baton that Brian Klebig could kind of pass to this freshman, genius whiz kid to say, here, can you? And so now,
audio blushing.
Yeah. So now it's Elias. And then Norah, who's not only on stage, just learns how to make sand animation. Just learns it like just weeks before. And Jason says, you got to see some of this stuff Norah's doing. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, Jason, this isn't yours? He goes, no, this is Norah's. And so, Norah, how many images did you make for this show? How many things? I mean, it was...
I don't know how many.
I'd say 50% or better.
It was just significant, and it was so much. And it wasn't just Norah. There were others who did it too. But Norah, you had a lot of it, I know, anyway. And you were in the show too. I mean, you're just like, okay, so here I am now feeling guilty that I'm just robbing everybody of every inch of free time they ever had. So but I think that... I forgot the question, Jason. I
want a first-hand account of what it's like for you to watch a performance.
Okay.
Where are you?
All right. Generally, or just for this show.
Let's do this show.
I can't remember what I was doing for this show.
You were in the catwalk, remember? You're like, hey Siri, set a timer,
really?
and she was like, 15 minutes and counting.
I'm usually hanging around backstage. For one of the shows, I was sitting in the audience, but usually I'm backstage somewhere. For the stadium seating that we did for this show, I was kind of just in the scene shop. I was backstage. I was probably very annoying to people, but mostly where I would watch the show would be back by the door under the exit sign. I just stand in the corner, and that's where I would watch the show from generally. That. So, that way, if I needed to get backstage, I easily could. If I need to go, run back if something happens, if there's some kind of an emergency, I always feel like being on hand. And then there was one show where I sat with my family and watched and stuff.
Look at that.
Elias is producing a selfie with Pete peering out of... This might be a show notes item.
Yeah, right.
I remember that because it was like we would not really see Pete during that. He would like appear suddenly in our midst at intermission.
Oh yeah, it was terrifying.
And then he would disappear to a quiet place.
They're loving it, you guys. And then he would poof, disappear again. But like when you're like performing and looking out in the audience, sometimes you're like, who's like haunting the corner over there? It's just Pete.
Phantom of the Opera.
So Pete, is it accurate to say that when a show is going on, you are on duty? You're on call. For my shows, I am. You think that way about like you're not sitting and sort of like basking. No, I. It's a problem. I'm usually just sort of standing around. Too much nervous energy.
I was gonna say, are you nervous during?
It's not nerve. No, it's not. It's not. I'm not nervous, but I'm like. It's the same kind of nervous energy that makes my knee bounce. You know, I'm just sort of
pumped up.
Yeah, I'm pumped.
Yeah,
yeah, it's that.
It's like we get to do our warm ups and then perform. You do the warm ups and then you just have to.
Yeah, then I have to sit and be quiet.
Right. But you're also. It sounds like you're ready.
Yeah. In
case of emergency, you're ready.
Yeah. Right.
So you go to every performance, right?
Yeah. I've just been doing that for over 30 years. It just got to be a habit. So that's where I am. That's what I've been doing.
Okay. I think I want to rewind a little bit. We were in the show, in the performance time. Let's go the weeks prior. Like the show is starting to come together. It's been, Pete, you said, years in development.
Yeah. You
and I had a lot of talks at my house and other places about the script.
Yep.
So can you all sort of put yourself in that moment, let's say a week before or a week and a half before? Costumes are in place, blocking is mostly in place, sand animation are
nowhere near done.
Yeah, it's a long ways away.
Yeah.
Lighting is probably being developed yet. Sound cues maybe are rough yet. How's it feel to be a week out?
I think we had 2 weeks of tech because there was so much of it. And I remember especially the weekend ones that we were specifically setting for like, hey, it's going to be really long. It was really long. Like it was so much. And especially because it wasn't as much like the actors and stuff is not like the focus of that time. Most of our work is already done. Like, we know our lines. For the most part, we know our cues. Like, it's the tech people trying to figure it out. But they were just so long.
What's that like? What are they figuring out?
So they would, it's like stop and go very much. So like, it's not as much during the scene work, which is which is when like we're doing our stuff of like actually performing. It's like in between. So it's like transitions. Pete will probably be able to describe it better than I can. So it's like, okay, you enter from there. You just have to stand there. Maybe you have to stand there for like 15 minutes while they figure out, okay, so this is, because you're coordinating, okay, you're entering, this is the sound that's playing, these are the lights that need to play. Also, Elias is doing a sand animation on 6 different surfaces. And the show is not as long as a lot of shows we've done, but it's not short either. And there are a lot of different scenes. And so you have to do that for entrances and exits and different events during every single scene. And some scenes like, Walking on Water.
I was going to say that one. Yeah.
That one was crazy. So you had, we started out in kind of the temple and Jesus is talking to his disciples and it's normal. And then, like, it changes. So crazy lights. It's like supposed to be like thunder and lightning. So we have thunder and lightning sounds. The lights change. Ingrid and I run out with the water because we also have water in that scene, which were these really long kind of lengths of fabric. The disciples all have to run out in the middle of the stage and arrange themselves. And then we also had stools pulled out to create the effect of Jesus walking on water, which Sebastian would go up on top of. And you had sand animations that are sequential. So it's not just, some of them were just images. These were moving. So it's like there was stuff happening that had to happen in time with the movement of the actors. So Sebastian, who had the red cloth at that point, and Colton, who was Peter, had to time their actions and also their lines and how the speed of the scene with the actions that were on the banners and stuff around them without blatantly staring at the banners and watching what was happening. And I mean, we would just run it like over and over again so that they would be able to tell from the sounds, they could just tell from the speed of the scene what was happening on the banners without like just staring at them. You could see during the performances them going like just quick, like darting their eyes over just to make sure that they were on time. But essentially what's happening on the banners is mirroring exactly what Sebastian and Colton are doing down below. So that was just kind of such a hard scene to get right of. There's crazy lights, there's sounds the entire time, and there's Elias has to do crazy stuff with animations. And then it's kind of intense. All the actors are moving a lot. Like, all the disciples have to pretend they're, like, in a boat when really they're just standing on their knees on the stage. You have, like, actors running around the stage and stuff. So we ran that one a lot.
Things are constantly shifting in that season of a show.
Yeah, it's like the 60-second piece of theater that we're running for an hour one day, and then for sure probably another 45 minutes another day, so what is that, an hour and 45 minutes just to make this cool 60-second part.
Exactly.
To organize. Not only is there thunder and lightning sound, there's also music, there's the different animations on each side. Sebastian, you're playing Jesus. Can you see the animations on your side in your peripheral vision? Because when those change, that's when you say this. When you say this, Colton, you're playing Peter. That's when you step up on this stool and you're trying to. And then there's water that is the fabric that looks. The operators are shaking that to make it look like wavy storms and stuff. This is. People might not realize that it's kind of like making a stop motion animation piece. It takes hours and hours and hours to figure out just a simple special effects sequence in theater like this. And all actors are on deck, and then we get it close, but it's not quite right. And then they have to hear me say, close, let's do it again. And then we do it again, and it's closer, but it's not quite there. And make a few notes and say, okay, let's do it again. And so we do it again, and we do it again, and we do it again until we get it show-worthy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Elias and I were maybe the wild card, the thing that you weren't used to in a show. And sand animation is something I've done before, but I've never done it for live performance, in which it needs to coordinate. And that scene in particular, Norah mentioned, it's a sand animation that sort of mirrors what's happening on stage. The sequence has to at least be in the ballpark of fitting. And as I recall, that was the second or third iteration of that sequence that we ended up using. So another thing people might not realize, after you see the show, it sort of feels obvious, that's the way it is. But a week ahead of time, it's all just sort of, it's still tumbling in. So let's, Elias, let's take it up to the balcony. You and I had computers up in the balcony for the weeks prior to the show. And performance rehearsal is happening down below, and you and I are trying a week or so ahead of time. We're trying to sort of be with the actors, but we're also trying to sort of like get ahead of making content. I feel like I'm talking too much, and I want you to stop hiding.
Well,
what is happening a week ahead of time, as you recall?
I think a lot of what made the show a success was even what was happening before the week, right? Because I was approached by Pete. When did you ask me?
It was part of do you want to stage manage and sort of be the stage manager in charge of projections?
Ah, yes.
And so,
how many weeks in advance was that?
6, before we started.
Before we started practicing,
Yeah, it was before we even started rehearsals.
Yeah.
And so, as soon as I could, I tried to get my workstation set up there. I did a lot of testing with smaller projectors beforehand to know what would be possible and to figure out what I thought would be possible if we got different gear. To this day, I still wonder, could we have done more? Do you think we could have made it better? I think the answer is yes. Just not with the time that we had.
Right.
Yeah, it was really, for as dazzling as it was kind of cobbled.
Yeah, very.
We got a couple of projectors here and a couple of projectors there, and they were a little bit different in their capabilities. You were just learning the software, and a lot of us were just sort of learning how to animate.
You asked what it was like a week out, and I feel like a week out is where I'm gaining all kinds of confidence. But 2 weeks out, I feel like if this sand animation stuff, I'm always asking Elias, is it saved? Do we have, what if a computer goes down? Do we have a backup? Is there? Because I'm thinking, if a computer crashes, the show stops. Because a lot of times we could do a show if the music stopped, maybe. Not a musical, but if a light goes out, we can still maybe do the show. But if all the lights go out, if the computer goes out for the animations, we wouldn't have a show. I'm always concerned about adding another technical element to a show, because those things have to be so backed up that you have the confidence that you can bring a whole audience in to watch this and that nothing's going to fail.
And these weren't just any computers.
No, these were these are like some pretty
like
hard-hitting computers. Yeah, Ferrari computers. Exactly. And so I felt 2 weeks out, I'm sure I was annoying Elias. Like, will these fail? Are these computers going to make it? Do we have a backup? And, and when you're a director, you want to hear, it can't fail. It's going to be great. Everything, there's nothing that can go wrong, and I'm asking this freshman guy who's kind of new to Bethany, and he's kind of shrugging. I don't know. It might fail. But as we got then a week out, then I'm starting to have confidence. I think everything's going to be okay. I think that we've got enough backup here to figure it out. I don't know, Elias, do you want to elaborate on any of that?
You made it seem like I didn't have backups of everything. I even had 2 backup computers I could.
But what I'm saying is, you were probably annoyed that I continually was asking.
So I've been doing theater for a very long time. I don't know.
What are you, 19?
Yeah, well, I've been doing theater since.
You're talking to Peter Bloedel.
He's been doing it longer than me.
Yes, true.
Yes. He's older than me, so therefore he's...
I'm 19.
I'm 19.
He's 19, guys.
The whole room is 19.
Everyone's 19 in here. But
full 19-year-olds.
Where was I going with that?
Yeah, sorry.
Long time.
That's okay.
You've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever, besides maybe my first 2 or 3 shows, been nervous.
Wow.
People are always like, oh, I don't know if it's going to come together. The amount of shows I've worked on, I probably work on, I don't know, 5 shows a year.
Yeah.
I just kind of get used to the fact that, oh, hey, the show's tomorrow, and we still have these 5 things to paint, but it'll get done. I've never been to a show where I haven't gotten done what I need to get done.
Yeah.
And so I think that experience just provides me comfort. Like, I know I'll put in the time I need.
I think from someone who wasn't in the tech stuff really as much, seeing how you guys work together and we don't even have everyone. It would be cool to talk to Renee about this. It'd be cool to talk to Benji about this as well. From an outside perspective, the tech people working together was extremely admirable because it was so like, it was like we would like watch you guys work stuff, especially during the 2 tech weeks, trying to work stuff out, and like truly there's nothing you can do to help. Like just sit, like wait, they'll figure it out. Of the way that you guys handled issues with like calmness and reasonableness, even though like sometimes like, hey, we've been in the theater for 11 hours and you guys are still being like, all right, that's okay, like we can solve this problem, and still being able to introduce new ideas. Like I remember a lot during lighting, especially during the sequence of the killing of the innocents, the lighting was so hard. And like I just remember you working with Benji to be like, okay, that's not gonna work, like is there something else we can do? I don't know, you guys just did awesome, and it was really cool to see you guys work together. You set a really good example, I think, for teamwork in theater.
Can I dovetail off of that?
Please.
You know, here's what's great about Bethany. So Jason, who's in the art department, what was cool about this show was there's 4 departments that are all kind of converging on a single work of art. You know, you got Brian Klebig in communication, you got studio art, you got music, you got theater. You could almost say media art too.
Engineering too. We had some engineering students come in. They helped me build custom mounts for the brackets.
Right, some 3D printed mounts.
Yeah. So 6, you know. So and so I'm sitting right across the table from Jason Jaspersen right now, and I remember, you know, we've been buddies for a long time, you know, so I can go to his house and I can just riff on what's the script going to be like, you know. So he and I we had all these long conversations about the script. But I think that this is the kind of thing that I don't know that I would see in another school. Is Jason put up his desk in the balcony of the theater and basically said, "I'm yours for the next 2 weeks. I'm here. I'm yours." And he came to every practice, and he was up there making video editing, sand animation footage, because we were watching it on stage, and he's going, "Oh, okay, I got something here that's really good, but I can tell that it's 5 seconds too long. I'm gonna re-edit it to make it 5 seconds shorter." And he's doing that on the fly while actors are acting on the stage below. I'm trying to think, is there any other institution where something like this would happen? Where the people, I work with my best friends. They're here, you know, they're here at Bethany Lutheran College. You know, if I go outside of the YFAC building, I'm away from them, you know, and so I feel like there is a level of dedication that happens here, just a camaraderie, and that's not even including the students who are also just dedicating their time. They're so admirable. I feel like I get to work with the best of the best, not only just in my colleagues, but with the students that I admire so much. And so I feel like it was all a really special experience, but it's not uncommon. Like Elias, I don't really get nervous. Everything's going to happen the way it's going to, you know. Do we make cuts? Do we say we don't have time for this, and then make we won't have time for this? So let's cut that and develop the rest. You know, that happens all the time. That's just what theater is. But I just feel so blessed to be at a place like Bethany, where this kind of collegiality between students and then also fellow teachers can happen, and we can make some really, really cool things. And it's also not lost on me that this is a gift from God, that God is watching over little Bethany, and allowing really, really neat things to happen. I think we're just really blessed here.
Yeah.
Not only did Jason put his desk up in the balcony for 2 weeks, we were there till 2:30 a.m. some nights.
Yeah.
I don't know many professors that would be like, sorry, family.
Yeah.
I'm not coming home tonight.
Right.
I'm working on this project.
Right.
So that was really special.
Absolutely.
I'm still tired.
I don't blame you. Me too, man. Me too.
Summer's coming.
But
Home stretch.
you know, another thing when his desk was up there that I saw was the little note you have stuck on the front of your computer about manna.
That's from my daughter, Maida.
She came up with that quote?
Well, it's a concept. It's a shorthand that we have. We talk about God's providence, but manna becomes sort of the code word. Israelites out in the wilderness, you know, like where are we going to eat? Is there a drive-through? Where are we going to eat?
Yeah.
And God just surprises. You know, he gives you enough, just enough. And I love the rules about manna. You can't hoard it or it goes bad.
Yep.
Except for so that you can have a Sabbath. Right? God can do these things. So, and Maida gave me that note as a sort of a reflection, because I sort of gave her that concept and then she gave it back to me. And yeah, I suppose it was really applicable there because, as we said, this whole thing was sort of cobbled together. We didn't really have a precedent, but we went for it.
And then God provides.
And God provides.
Yep.
Yeah. I thought about that note a lot. I still do.
Yeah.
When I'm working on things. I don't know. It was just cool.
Well,
Stuck with me.
On Whistle the Feast, we talk about how influence is wild. I didn't know that little Post-it note would... It just came with the computer. It was on the computer, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't put it there for the show. But that little barnacle, you know,
Yeah.
had an influence on you.
And I think, I mean, if we want to talk about influence, I think that the precedence set by, I mean, especially professors at Bethany, is a very strong reason why I think students feel that they can do their best to excel in things. So, I mean, Jason putting his desk up there and working that late is like, gives Elias permission to be like, oh, okay, I'm working hard too. Like, we're going to make this, this is going to be a thing. Or seeing what Jason can do with sand animations, maybe like, okay, you're going to have to redo things. You're not good enough at this yet to just be able to do one once and for it to be okay. Like, you have to practice
you and
more.
You and I had a couple talks about some of your sequences.
Art is frustrating because you can't just, it's not like you can study and just be better. You have to, like, you're going to be just straight up bad at it, and you'll practice a lot and you'll be a little bit better. And sometimes that just has to be good enough. So, and then I think also just the passion that Pete tackled this production with also was definitely like infused into the cast. We were very serious about it, which was really fun. And it's really fun to work with other students who are as invested in something as you are, even through like just difficult practices and like intensity. Like there were some like scenes in that are just straight up emotionally intense to do. Yeah. And it's just like, all right, well, that's how it really was. So like lock in.
You lost a baby many times.
Yeah. It's like we would do that like 5 times during practice. And by the last one, you're just like feeling like, oh my goodness, I've been like screaming and crying for like an hour now. Like it's intense, but it feels like, I don't know. you look at the faculty around you and you look at your directors and you look at Elias, who's like running around the balcony, like doing things that I can't even begin to grasp. And you look at Renee, who's handling hundreds of cues every show, and she's never stage directed before. It's the first time she's doing hundreds of cues, and you see like the light that Benji is working with, and it's just like, okay, everyone else is giving their best. Like, I'm gonna do it too. You know,
everybody's stepping up in service of service.
Yeah,
service, I suppose.
You're gonna jump on the bandwagon, like you're gonna do it too. So it's like seeing like, especially faculty, but also fellow students like Elias and like Renee, give it their all, gives permission for the rest of us to do it too.
And, you know, I think that's the cool thing about Bethany that you don't get in other schools, even other Christian schools, is two things. One, just how strong the Christian environment is here at Bethany, but also the relationships that are formed between students and their professors. Because I have some friends that go to other schools, and they'll complain to me sometimes. Oh, the professor told me this project was bad, or yada yada. I think at Bethany, you know when a professor tells you that, it's motivation to do better, because you have that relationship. You know, you can be candid with them. Where I'm not going to be like, oh, this teacher just doesn't like me. I know they're going to want me to do better. Give it 110%.
You know what I think... What I really like too is things. What Child Is This was kind of an 80% done script, even when I went into rehearsal with it. You know, I mean, there's even now. I was talking with Jason about this recently. Is that even, you know, it's not ready for any kind of publication yet. There's still things I have to figure out, But I was able to just sort of ask the cast, okay, what do you guys think about this? What if we did, you know, the slaughter of the innocents whole sequence? You know, so much of that is cast input. How do we do this poetically? We don't want this to look gory, but we want this to look scary, and we want it to look, you know, horrific, but still, you know, be something that isn't going to gross people out. And you know, I'm just inspired by, I know actors are smart, and actors can bring, you know, great ideas. And so I feel like half of our rehearsals, especially towards the end, we're you know, just getting input from, what do you guys think? What if we do this? Or do you guys have I didn't think about this transition. Do you guys have good ideas for these kinds of transitions? That the women who got their babies killed during the slaughter of the innocents, it wasn't until like a week or a week and a half before we opened where we made the decision that those would also be the women at the tomb. And now it's one of my favorite things. It's one of my favorite transitions. And then I remember writing just lines for who ended up being Heidi Rebow, yeah. To be able to just talk about, you know, what she as a woman at the tomb saw. So she's the woman who just got the last baby was killed, and it was killed in her arms. And suddenly Gabriel comes on, and now the audience all knows we're at the tomb. We've flashed 32 years ahead, you know, and now we're at the resurrection of Jesus. And Heidi had these, you know, here I am handing people lines like just before the show is opening, and she's like, oh, I have to memorize this quick, and I'm so sorry. Yeah. and she just nailed it. You know, it was like just so good. And I feel like when you're working on creative things like this, you know, and this is not. So, by the way, this is not. I just saw a Netflix special on a Stranger Things West End production in London, and they were doing the very same thing. They're writing stuff and they're making changes right up until opening night. This is how creativity happens. This is how Shakespeare worked too. You know, Shakespeare would be handing his actors text right before the show opened. And I'm not saying this is what we want to do all the time, but when you're making something really special, this is sort of the exercise, and that we get to do this kind of stuff here now and again is really, is very rewarding when it works.
Well, I think it's very, very, very rewarding to have the author in the room,
yeah,
so that there is that kind of liberty. the writing continues. The writing becomes collaborative in the same way that theater physics is used to that sort of relationship.
Yeah.
If this were a script that were ordered from a publishing company, I think the stance would be different. We would, you just feel a little bit more hesitant.
Yeah.
You don't have your hand on the steering wheel in that situation.
Yeah.
Another thing that I've been discussing with my students too is, we often talk about what's the difference between film and theater. And this is a show. What we had in What Child Is This is we had a pervasive red fabric that went, and anything that was that color, there could be, was going to be representative of Christ. And so in my mind, it was, we'll have a number of different fabrics that are that color, and whenever those things show up, that represents Christ. And that means that I'm talking to Emily Kimball. By the way, we haven't really mentioned Emily Kimball, but also a genius.
Yeah.
Somebody who is just so fantastic at making costumes. She was constantly asking me, can I have this red in the show? It's getting a little close to the Jesus color. Okay, well, we'll back off from that then. What we ended up happening was a single piece of fabric. And I kind of like that it was actually just one piece of fabric that made its way around to different people throughout the different actors, different characters throughout the whole show that then represented Christ. Sometimes it was wrapped around the Virgin Mary, and then you understood that when it was wrapped around her, that she was with child with the Savior. Later, it becomes the actual baby, so it's taken off from around her, and now it becomes this baby that they're holding. Now it's the baby Jesus. At times, during the resurrection, we have Gabriel, and he's holding the piece of fabric, and he says, he is not here. It's just as he said, and he lets this red piece of fabric cascade to the floor. And then there are other angels who come and pick up that piece of red fabric from the floor, and these other white pieces of fabric, which were representative of the babies who were killed during the slaughter of the innocents, they're enveloped by this red fabric. And so now what we realized is there's no way you could do that in a film. That's something only theater can do. Film has a lot of things over theater, but film doesn't have that over theater. This piece of red fabric ended up becoming such a symbol that was unmissable by everybody. And it was so clear what it was that if you were to make the movie of this script, it would be dumb to have a piece of fabric. It would look stupid on film. You'd need it to be a real baby. If you're holding this little bundle and you're thinking you have to act like it's a baby. In film, that just doesn't read. But on stage, it really works. And this is one of the, I'll say, few advantages that you might have with theater over film.
Well, my story earlier about my experience of seeing Norah believe in the red fabric, I think is
when it's clearly not a baby.
Yeah,
it's
right.
just a piece of red fabric.
But I think that's something that theater has.
Yeah,
the communal sort of agreement that we all participate in this moment that is fleeting, that is unfolding in front of us. It won't happen again. Exactly this way. Pay attention because, they'll do it again, but it won't be the same.
Right.
Early in our script talks, I maybe was reintroduced or introduced for the first time to the word conventions. And what you just described, that red cloth, was a convention that was established. And then the audience, it's maybe new at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And then after you repeat it once, twice, 3 times, then there's a confidence that, okay, that's the way it is. There's a convention established.
Yeah. Right.
I remember some deep struggles in the early stages of the script to figure out, what does Jesus look like? How do we represent Jesus? The red cloth was always sort of a concept, but it took refining with the cast.
And a lot of talks. Yeah, you and I talked about it a lot. Last summer, you and I went around and we gave a talk or two. One specifically for the Tri-College Conference between Wisconsin Lutheran College, Martin Luther College, and Bethany Lutheran College. And this was the summer of 22 or something like that, 23, I can't remember. We were telling people what this show was about, and I was thinking that there would be a single actor who played Jesus who always faced out, and you'd only hear his voice, but he never could play against the other actors. He always had to be looking, and he would always be shrouded in sort of a halo of light, so you never really knew exactly which actor he was, but that he would be the Jesus actor. Whoever Jesus, and we ended up abandoning that. I will say that years ago, I was thinking that Jesus would be played by a number of different people. And then I was in discussions with other great friends who said, no, I think it seems like you need to have Jesus played by a single person. Otherwise, it will be too confusing. And it took me a while to abandon that idea. And then we were back to the original thing. Jesus.
Well, you had 12-year-old Jesus.
Yeah, played by Allie Heine.
And you already had Baby,
yeah.
Right? I mean, you already couldn't have one person.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And so it ended up being like, okay, and I think that's when I was really starting to think heavily about this red cloth. This could just be whoever is mantled with this red cloth. If they speak, now they're speaking as Jesus.
And I think that only works because it's an ensemble cast, and we're used to everybody playing different
trading
roles.
parts.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Everybody's taking turns.
Yep. Right.
Well, and I also think this idea of Jesus being on stage and also not being on stage at the same time kind of mirrors faith really in a really interesting way of like this idea of blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. It's a cloth. Like there's no Jesus character on stage, and yet like it's there the whole play. Jesus is there, and his words are being spoken. And so I think at the end, like, you describing it as worship was actually, like, very much what it felt like, because it felt like when we're watching, like, the actual nativity unfold in the last scene, it was like, well, like, I can't say that Jesus isn't here. And I can't say that, like, this isn't, looking at it felt like I'm praising God, because that's what, the baby...
There's an omnipotence. There's sort of
exactly.
an omnipresence.
I think you did that very effectively of being able to mirror the actual, what it's actually like to have an omnipresent, omnipotent God. And also have him be a distinct character in a play, which is kind of hard to do.
Yeah, maybe we just and for those who haven't seen it, Jesus was played by so many different people. There was no single actor playing Jesus. I'm just trying to make that clear in case I wasn't clear about that earlier. But yeah, Jesus. When Jesus was walking on the water, it was Sebastian. When Jesus is talking directly to Peter, it's Will. Everybody.
When he's in the temple, when he's in the child, it's Allie.
It's Allie. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and to be clear, so Will took his turn being Jesus, but he was also the angel Gabriel, and he was also a Pharisee.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Which is crazy.
So yeah, a lot of yeah. I guess it's this is what we call ensemble casting. Where to me, an ensemble show tends to be where everybody's sort of equally yoked. The people who didn't change were the guy playing Joseph, and that was. And Andy Muskie, and then the girl playing Mary, which was
Grayson
Lukasic, because that could get confusing. I think that if they played other people, so we kept Mary and Joseph, only Mary and Joseph. Everybody else was on stage just as much as they were as different people.
And those are more conventions. The audience catches on.
Yeah, you learn that really quickly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yep, that's a convention.
So, Pete, you've been talking about like the process of like creating the show, which is 7 years.
Yeah,
I heard at some point.
Yep.
So I think I've talked about this to a lot of my friends who's like their main, you could call like art form is theater.
Yeah.
And how fleeting it is. When I make a piece of art, I can depend on being there. If I'm careful with it, it's not going anywhere. Like, it'll outlast me. You know what I mean? And with theater, that is just
it's
so
ephemeral.
not true.
Yeah.
So I want to know, like, what was the experience of, like, I've been working on this for 7 years. I'm doing our first read-through. We're having our first practices. You're starting to be able to see scenes come to life. And then also, when it's over, it's over.
It's over. Yeah.
What was that like?
That's, well, kind of like Elias. I'm so used to that now.
Yeah.
You know, it is, I think the word for that is ephemeral. It just sort of, it's like vapor.
Yeah.
You know, it's this really cool thing that you see, and it's profound, and it lives in a memory. It lives in an experience, and then is sort of gone.
And that feels satisfying.
It has to. Yeah, it has to.
Choice.
You know, I remember, for instance, it being by myself in a canoe up in Spooner, Wisconsin, and there was a family of loons, and the papa loon was diving under the water and then started diving right under my canoe. Like, I could touch this loon, and the mama loon had the little chick loons on her back. I could reach out and touch these loons. They were not afraid of me. But now that's gone. Those loons are probably dead. I only have that memory. And that's what theater, but was that profound to me? Was that almost a life-changing experience to me? Yeah. And theater is that for people. Because really what it is a story. You're telling people something, you know, and we all remember the best stories that, you know, our mother or father or grandfather or just a really good friend told us or something. And that these stories have become so profound to us. To me, the most profound stories ever were stories from the Bible, you know, and that were told to me again and again and again. And so these, you know, I'll tell you this, though. I would like to do this show again. What I've experienced in the doing of it is more problem solving. I know more now. My arrow quiver has more arrows in it now after doing the show, where I feel like I could shoot more arrows if I were able to do this show again.
So you've written other shows before. Do you have that feeling of like, oh, like, I want to do this again after those, or has that been a unique experience? Sometimes
I do. Sometimes I just want to publish them and get them out there for other people to do this. This one is profoundly different for me because I want to do it again. This is one I want to do again. This one feels like an artistic mission statement to me, where the other ones were maybe just more for entertainment.
Yeah.
Jammed Our Sonnets might be different. Jammed Our Sonnets felt like an artistic mission statement a little bit more to me. But I've got a lot of other plays that are like one acts. They were like ending skits for theater physics, which are basically just for fun, comedies and things. This one strikes at what I actually believe, and so missionally, it means something more to me.
Right.
And so if it's a mission statement for me, I feel like doing it again. I want to do something with it.
You know, I think something special about theater, it's different than other art forms, is the fact that it creates connections that you don't get somewhere else.
Yeah.
Working with people, not only the working with them, but the single mindset, the goal, the end goal is the same.
Right.
I was going to go somewhere with that.
No, I think I definitely noticed that with theater, or thinking about, like, once again, like, Pete's been working on the show for 7 years, and he has to, okay, we're doing it now, and 7 years ago he was like, you don't know who is still going to be on faculty or who new is on that can help you with this. You have no idea what the cast is. So when you started writing this, like, I was 12.
And Jason didn't work here.
Yeah, like, stuff like that, that's crazy. You literally had no idea. And so I think what Elias is talking about, like, this spirit of collaboration is also, like, the insane trust that you have to have when you're doing a theater show of, like, I have no choice but to rely on so many other people than myself to make this art come alive. And I think that is I completely agree, Elias. I think that's extremely unique. I don't have to do that for art. if I don't want to. Even media arts, you guys could make stuff on your own. It's not easy. I know Griffin Neep talked about that in his capstone a little bit. It's not easy, but you can do it. Writers don't have to have this kind of collaborative. I think it's very unique to theater, so I think that's a great point.
Yeah. Even with it, you mentioned a vapor, it's gone. Kind of, but vapor eventually, becomes rain again. You meet the same people you worked with before. And you're like, hey, remember that time when so-and-so? And so the cycle continues, Yeah. You continue to be friends and have this bond that you wouldn't have if it was just your coworker or...
Yeah.
Right, and you gain arrows from that, like people were saying. You get new ideas, you get new inspiration, and you also believe in your ability, I think, a little bit more. Pete,
a long time ago, I was in one of your classes. And we studied... I think it was an acting class, maybe. And I remember you introducing the concept of what does theater do as an art form, and we talked about how engaging it is. When you're watching a theater performance, if it's going right, it grabs your attention completely. Nothing else is allowed in your attention. Your senses are engaged. There's a story, light, music, blocking, and it all has significance. It's all been carefully crafted to be a significant sequence. So though it is ephemeral, though it is vapor, for that moment it's everything.
Yeah.
For that hour, 2 hours, there is nothing else in your attention.
Like an experience would be.
Yeah.
Like the loons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I contrast that. Norah's talking about painting, she'll make a painting and it will last. The thing is, and I do this too, I make sculpture, I make painting, those are ignorable. Mm-hmm. Though they endure, you have to engage them as a viewer for them to deliver their message. Mm-hmm. When you're sitting in a theater, you kind of have no choice.
Yeah.
Right.
Isn't that cool?
So there's this trade-off, right?
Yeah.
You get endurance, but you lack it. You lose engagement, or you get engagement and you lose the endurance.
Yeah. No, it's good.
It's wow. Like comparing that, like theater is wildly intense compared to the intensity of a painting. Paintings can be, but like that is a curation of experience. That's crazy. You know what I mean? The intensity.
Let me try this. It's occurred to me that fireworks and trees are the same shape.
Yes, I've heard this one before.
Oh, I haven't. Tell me this.
Well, picture, the path of like this firework that goes up, 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 and then explodes and kind of, spreads and then falls. Mm-hmm. Right? So that's like the energy of a tree like going up, making leaves, and then the leaves fall. The difference is we get tickets for fireworks shows, but, trees just sort of quietly do their thing very, very slowly over generations. So it's that
they shoot up, they explode, and they drop.
Yeah. Yeah. And change
slowly.
Colors.
Yep.
Really slowly. Colors. So, we have trees, fireworks come and go. It's that same exchange of like intensity for duration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think one more thing about what Elias was talking about, I think about relationships or like a shared experience being really cool. One thing is I'm really sad. I love doing the show and I actually think about all the time that I'm like, I'm never going to be able to do it again. That's so sad. But also that I never got to watch it. That was kind of sad of like, man, I really wish I could have watched it. My parents got to come to this show and they don't, this is the only one that they've seen because they live kind of far away. And so it's like, it was kind of random that they got to come to this one. Also, some of my siblings got to see it, which was really cool. And my brother-in-law and stuff. And so it was cool to like, I don't know what you're talking about of like that shared experience of, it was such a cool moment of like connection for them to like come, like I tell them when I'm doing shows and stuff like, oh, like I'm in practice right now or it's tech week for this show. And they can be like, oh, cool. Like if it's posted, we'll watch it on YouTube and stuff like that. But for them to actually like come out of the theater and kind of that that look that people get when they've been in a really dark theater. It's the same like when you see people come out of movie theaters. They've been in a really dark space, and so they're kind of like squinty, and they're really smiley because you get that crazy lightheaded feeling of experiencing a show. I don't know about you guys, but like of experiencing art in that way, and nothing feels real, and you feel, I think, very motivated and stuff. And so it was cool for them to be, I just finished doing it, so I'm like sweaty and hot, and I'm like, oh, that was crazy. I'm like crying. And for them to come out and be like, that was really cool. Or my brother-in-law, who's trained to become a pastor at the Wels seminary, to be like, that is such a cool way to share God's word. Like, he was like, I'm so glad that you guys do this here. I'm so happy that this is a way that people can hear about Christ. So I think that shared experience definitely like hit me harder during this show than it has at any other show that I have done since then, or maybe will ever do.
Yeah, that's what I love about theater, is that it's tangible. Not in the sense that you can actually go and touch the actors, or you shouldn't, but but the fact you're actually, well,
you're sharing the space.
You're sharing the space, right?
It's happening now.
Yeah.
You know, I remember you're talking about sort of the after show, the lobby talk. There was a lot of talk about how do we make it last. They should show this more often somehow. This show should have more life. That's interesting.
Yeah, especially since we already crammed as many shows. Like, how many other shows have we done here where we do 9 shows? Or is this the first?
Well, Jam Jar Sonnets was 10 performance, but that was over 2 years because it got called back to Kennedy Center to be able to perform it elsewhere.
Right.
But in one run, this was the biggest we've ever had.
9 shows, and we almost did 10. We did a vote, and we were like, we're doing 10 shows, we're going to do it. And then Pete emailed us and was like, guys, I don't think it will be healthy for your minds and bodies to do 10 shows in 2 weeks. And so we did do that, which I think was probably
I pulled the plug on
decision.
that one. Yeah. You know, it would have been fun.
Yeah,
you know.
it would have been crazy.
And I'm pretty sure we would have filled another house, but I think we did.
Yeah, that's another thing I've never experienced before since then, is filling houses and getting standing ovations for 8 shows in a row or whatever. It's crazy. That was cool support.
Pete, can you talk about the Kennedy Center briefly and the Kennedy Center response to this show?
Yeah, we had a woman from Southwest State University, and the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival is an offshoot of the Kennedy Center, and you get respondents from different universities and colleges coming to see your shows, and they can tell you what they thought of them. So they're basically giving you a response. That's their job. They come to do that. These are theater professionals who see theater all the time, who you know what they're talking about, and we had a woman come from, and I'm blanking on her name, and I wish I could remember it, but she came from a big university to see our show, and Norah, what did she say? She was really what she said to me privately. She's when the students were away and when it was just Emily and I there talking to her, she said that this was a real honor to be here to see this show, and she said this is the best play I've seen in a really long time. And that was just very nice of her. But she had just great things to say about the cast and the crew, and we ended up getting an awful lot of awards from the Kennedy Center that included awards for the projection mapping, awards for the sand animation, awards for ensemble acting. I got one for directing. I got one for designing. And I don't know, there were 7 or 8 of them. And so when that happens, that's a big honor. That doesn't happen very often. And so it's very humbling. and it's nice that theater professionals from around the region are giving us their tip in their hat.
It felt a little bit nerve-wracking because I was like, oh, this is pretty, it's like a little bit, you could say like niche, like, hey, we know these stories really well, but everyone might not. But she was very good at like connecting with us. I can't remember if she went to a Christian college or if she just had experience at a Christian school or something, and she like made sure like tell us like, I've had like, I know what you guys are talking about. Like, I appreciated what you guys were trying to convey with this. So it was cool. She was very good at like connecting with us.
Yeah.
Well, given that context, I think I admire broadly the courage to make this show. I think, Pete, your instinct was right that the world needed a reverent take. It needed something that respects the content, that believes the content. And, once again, home run Bethany. It just keeps happening.
So good.
An interesting part of the whole thing in everything we did, the acting, the projection mapping, the sand animations, the costuming, it had to be understood and enjoyed by both Christians and people who maybe aren't familiar with the Christian faith. Because if you don't want to make it so base level that a Christian comes and knows the entire story. Obviously, you don't want to add to it either. That you can't do that. But you don't want to make it a Christian comes to it and they're like, oh, I know what happens here, and now I know what happens here, and they just zone out. But you also don't want to make it so theological that a friend is coming and now they've just been denied the opportunity, to maybe learn about your faith because it just goes over their heads.
Yeah.
So
I think you did.
Yeah. Pete, do you want to talk a little bit about that process?
That was a struggle. I remember talking aloud about that with Jason too in the summertime. It was always we don't want this just to be Sunday school. We don't want this to be preaching to the choir, but I want it to be great for the choir. And so that was always on our minds, trying to reach a broad audience with it, and for people who may not know or believe, and then also for those who know and believe.
Yeah. Well,
I'm going to wrap us up. I think I've got a phrase that I use on my website called a fresh perspective on timeless truth, and I think that's what this show has achieved. I thank you all for an enlightening, delightful discussion.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Love you all, and I'm appreciative of you all.
Thank you.
Signing
Likewise.
off.
And that concludes this episode of Whistle the Feast. We hope you enjoyed being a part of the conversation as much as we did. Whistle the Feast would not be possible without all the creative people and spaces at Bethany Lutheran College. And you can head on over to blc.edu to learn more about the college or schedule a visit. If you have thoughts, questions, or feedback, we'd love to hear from you. You can actually send any feedback about the show to feastreaders@gmail.com. And hey, if you've got a project you'd like to promote, we'd love to support it. Just send your details our way. A huge shout out to the wonderful people in our Bethany community for sharing their thoughts with us, and our producer Jaksyn Graham for managing the edits. And with that, I'm Norah Kratz alongside Jason Jaspersen, and we want to thank everyone who tuned into this episode of Whistle the Feast. Until next time.
Get curious, be of good service, and discover what God has given you.